to have maybe two people who have significantly higher IQ than me. I want to start with a story, my Google story. So when I graduated from college in 2004, Google was the hottest job in India because Google had, I think, just opened their campus in India. And like all IIT folks, I went to interview for Google. I entered the room. It was for a software engineer role. Um, for 45 minutes, the interview kept on going, and the interviewer kept on asking me maths questions, combinatorial questions, probability questions, and I was like completely failing at all of that. And like after 45 minutes, he said, "I don't believe that you have come here for a researcher position." Like, no, I've come here for software engineer position. And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, that I'm in the wrong room." I'm like, so I was like stumped. So I went to the HR and I said, "This was torture for me. I definitely need something out of it." So she gave me a Google T-shirt.
And now you're back.
It's so amazing. But this is a real true story. Okay, this is a real true story. I still remember the question he asked me. It was an NP hard problem he gave me to solve. It's hard. So, but anyways, it's amazing to have you guys here. And I'm a big fan of all the stuff you guys put out. And I'm not kidding. Like I use Gemma, I use Translate Gemma on web GPUs. I was trying out the embedding model, and this is one of the reasons I can't sleep because you guys just push out stuff so fast. Like I am worried. I keep telling one of the rumors I heard from some of my friends in Google is like there's a building in Google campus where everybody is like nobody comes out, and it's like 997 over there. So Josh, question to you: like, how do you guys are shipping so fast? Like, start what 100 days sprints? Tell us all about that.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we try to think about in labs is how can you just get an idea into the world? It's a lot like the startups here, right? I think for a while you can get yourself into this mode where, oh, it's this beautiful product in your head or on a whiteboard. And then you walk out in the street and you show it to people and no one knows how to use it. And you realize like reality hits you in the face. One of the first versions, actually, maybe a funny story, some of you have used this Files by Google product from a while back. We built this, originally it was a P2P sort of file sharing product. We went to Hyderabad University there in Hyderabad. We sideloaded it on 1,000 phones on a Friday. And we were all so excited about it. By Sunday morning, there were 2 out of 1,000 people still using it. And it's like, this is kind of a founder moment where you're like, oh no, we're gonna have to pivot. But yeah, we think a lot about speed and really shipping and kind of building to learn. And until you're in the market co-creating with people, you really don't have anything. It's kind of how we think about it.
But do you structure the teams like pods? Like is like 2-3 people working on a pod? Like what is the takeaway for a founder if they want to set up their team like that?
Yeah, we do. We think of small teams for sure. It may be like 2-3 engineers, maybe a PM, a UX, or now a lot of these roles are blurring. And so we found kind of the optimal team size can kind of just sit around a table. We put a huge premium on how fast you can ship, put a huge premium on what are you learning? Because the first idea, in my experience, you usually have to go through 2 or 3 or 4 ideas before you get to something that's actually interesting. And so these are kind of how we set up the incentives. And then it's a little bit maybe similar, probably how do you think about it? When we're thinking about labs, we have a portfolio of things. And each of those founders, we want them to be going after the most ambitious, purest vision of what they're going for.
You're really thinking of team members as founders. That's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow. Amazing. Okay, coming to Prateek. So 2 years back, I got a chance to attend a Google research seminar where Prateek was talking about speculative decoding, mat formers. And that was the first time I realized I don't know shit. Like, I was like, I'm investing in AI startups, but I was like, I went back to, and I tell you the real thing, I went back to my office and I told all my partners, I'm really scared. I don't know whether our founders know all the stuff which Prateek is talking about, and we really, really need to get him and other founders into a room and talk about. So Prateek, like things are moving very fast, right? So how do you keep up onto it? Like, and by the way, do startups need to know all of this stuff, like KV quantization or should they just be happy with an API and do their thing? So what would you recommend to them?
So I would definitely feel like you should know at least at least functional working of how things are going under the hood, because otherwise it would feel almost like you are sitting in a spaceship, not knowing where it might be going, and if it is failing, how you would want to fix it. So now there are so many sort of different choices you might get. So for example, if you have, let's say, a really low latency task, you would want to know that, okay, what are my options, like what models I should be using, what kind of sort of setup I want to be deploying these models in. So to be able to understand that, right, and to make sure that the models are doing the job that you want them to do, you would need to at least have some basic understanding of what is going under the hood and how I can then properly utilize them. So I would definitely say that please come to my talks, listen to what I'm saying.
It's very hard.
And
But how do you, like, there's so many research papers like which you're coming out, like founders can't keep up. So most of the founders don't tend to be that technical, right? So what would be DeepMind's advice? Because you're creating the product, you're creating the APIs, like how much technical they should be, or should they have somebody in their team? Like, I think you're trying to simplify how people can use it, right? So what any of you would advise them? Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead if you want to.
I mean, I would again say, please use Gemini app or AI mode. It will summarize things very well for you. But but I think generally, like having at least an eye on what is really trending in terms of the papers, like on either on Twitter or sorry X or on archive is useful, so that at least you know that where the field might be going, what new things might be coming that might actually disrupt the way you are imagining your product. So it's important to keep an eye on things. It's a very rapidly moving world, so I do sympathize, for us also it's so difficult to sort of keep on top of things. Like it feels like, oh, 7 days back this was the overriding paradigm, but now like that whole thing is just completely thrown in trash can. But that's why trying to use AI as much as possible, all these tools that are being sort of made available as much as possible is useful.
Well, one thing we do, and maybe it could be advice for people in the room, is when we're starting a new project, we're usually kind of going with the most capable model, and we're trying to figure out, does it even work, and more importantly, does anyone want it? And so in the early days, it's more likely you're going to build something no one wants. In my experience, is trying to figure out, is it kind of technically possible? Does it work? And then I think having an eye on all these things I agree with, and maybe certain ways I think about it are things like latency, things like cost. Anytime there's a new capability shift, I'm always interested in that. Like that was not possible and now it's possible. These are areas sometimes where you can catch incumbents maybe asleep at the wheel, or you can kind of invent things that have just never been possible in kind of a new user experience or a new business model. So those would be some of the ways I kind of think about it. But when we're prototyping early stuff, we will always use the pro model with like the thinking turned all the way up because we're trying to figure out, like, can we break through to something? And I think about some of the startups like your science work, I mean, that's like set up directly for that. We should talk about co-scientists after this too. I saw your plug on the slide. But I think that's kind of like, you almost can start with that. Then if it's possible, technically, you're finding some interest, then you can start trying to whittle away on things like latency and cost and other stuff.
You said something which is very, I think, key. We tell our startups, make stuff for what is going to happen 2 years from now.
Definitely.
Right. So can you unwrap for us? Can you tell us a little bit about what is coming, like in the next 2 years?
2 years, that's an incredibly long time.
Okay. 6 months. Okay. But not necessarily from Google. I know you guys can't disclose that. But in terms of capabilities, like thinking was a step forward. Agentic was a step forward. Agentic harness was a step forward. Multimodality, like things like that, which you think already seeing researchers happening and might come either from Google or anywhere else. Like, would love to know that, because that allows people in this room, we can like cut off this segment and not post it online so that it stays within this room. So
Do you want to share any of the research side?
Sure. So I think continual learning, for example, is a very hot topic, and
you'll have to dumb it down for me.
So continual learning is mainly like, the idea is that when your agent or model goes in a new environment, there might be completely new rules of the game there, and can model sort of play there, learn from the experiences and become good at that, right? So so continual learning is definitely going to be one key thing that might be coming on. Then a lot more autonomous agents that can take a completely open-ended problem and start working on it and go through it for hours or days or weeks. Another thing is around world models, where models not only understand text, but also their physical world manifestation of it, and many that might make them super intelligent in terms of how things should be done in physical world. So that's another sort of key thing. that is incoming, and also a lot more powerful on-device models.
Yeah, those are all great. Maybe I'll add a few from the maybe product and kind of user experience side just to complement. I think we are going to see this is like the year of voice. There's a lot of different factors all hitting around the same time. The quality of the models, the sort of fluency of them, the latency, that's all happening. There's a lot of new devices coming that are going to be voice first or voice only. And I think the third thing is the rest of the world is starting to incorporate AI more and more into their lives. And a lot of the world typing on little keyboards is hard. And so I think just like we've seen kind of the rise of voice in other sort of previous generations, I think this one will be faster and sort of kind of take over more kind of user experience sort of things. On that point, user experience, I'm most excited for maybe one of you in here is going to invent a dashboard or a command center, or even the things Karpathy was calling for last night about like how to manage all his agents. But I think there's a huge opportunity to think about what does it look like to oversee, to approve, to review long-running tasks. So to kind of pair with this idea, I think the agentic stuff maybe here is from a technical perspective, but I think a lot of how it gets worked into products, we're still in super early days on. So that would be kind of a UI UX thing that has kind of yet to be worked out, I think.
It's amazing ideas. Like, and as on the VC side of things, I can tell you like something which you're saying, we are seeing. So somebody came and pitched about typing through thoughts. And first I like, what is this? Like typing through thoughts. And they were like, whisper flow is too slow. And I can't use whisper flow in this room because people are talking.
Yeah.
So I'll just wear my smart glasses and then just thinking, and it is typing at my typing rate. So I'm going to be typing at 300 words per minute. And companies are doing this and it's becoming reality. And initially I thought it's for helping disabled folks, but it is actually a business problem more. Because the executives are in planes, they are on traveling, you're in the car. This is not science fiction, it's going to happen. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, one other thing I'll add related to this, I think one of the big bottlenecks we have right now is how do you assemble context? And I think there's also a lot of UI and kind of product innovation around how you make it easy for people to both present context to the model, to consume context, and then remix it and do it all again. And so I think there's a lot there. We're trying to experiment a little of that with some of our labs products, but that would be another area, I think, as you're trying to get beyond the chatbot kind of paradigm, I think there's a huge opportunity to sort of innovate on that.
Awesome. So last question from me, and then we'll throw it open to the audience. So Josh, you meet, and Pratik, you advise a lot of startups as well. What is the advice you will give to start founders building in AI today? From global to India.
Yeah, let's see. I think it's one of those things, maybe it's the fundamentals still apply here a little bit, is you want a quick clock speed. How fast can you go? I think you want to be in front of people. Basically, how many minutes of your day can you be in front of your customers? And I would ruthlessly audit that. We just did a whole morning of time with people here who came using Gemini. And it's been one of the best times of my time on the trip, seeing like the glory and the pain of how they try to use the product. So I would say maximize your time on that. For a lot of you, I think having kind of the advice of Accel and others, I would seek out people in the field that you can learn from, that you inspire you, that challenge you. And I guess the main thing I would say is try to find a way for your startup to be like a memory machine and something that makes you infinitely curious. Because I found, and this is why I've stayed at Google so long, is I keep finding people who are so curious about what they do. You're one of these people too. And there's people on the team here, right? And when you're around people that are kind of motivated by that, it tends to be more fun. You tend to work harder. You tend to get through those dips, which are inevitable when you're a founder. And so that would maybe be a few things I'd say.
I love it. The energy, your energy is infectious, George. It's amazing. Yeah. Pratik,
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for putting me on a panel where someone like as charismatic and as Josh is sitting, and I'm sitting like a dead cat. But so a couple of advice. So one is that like AI, agentic tools like anti-gravity have made it so much faster for you to try out your ideas. But at the same time, many times I see that people are not being so much more productive because if you don't have proper goals, metrics, evals defined, then you might be just burning your compute for no reason. So having very good clarity on that, okay, what is it that your customer requires, and working backwards into some precise metrics and evals becomes really, really critical. And the other aspect is like, and again goes somewhat so very close to what Josh was saying earlier, which is that you should keep an eye on what is the trajectory of the development that's happening. And you want to be building for, like, 6 months, a year down the line, which means that you would want to sort of catch the models at the right time, which means that try to build with the best models right now. And in fact, imagine where they might be 6 months down the line, and, like, try to build according to that project, and plan according to that. So that becomes very important.
Yeah, can I add one thing on that? Because I completely agree. And you want to almost simulate for your startup. Imagine 6 months, 12 months from now, and the model keeps getting better. Because right now, I can just say from our side, we don't see any plateau right now. Just keeps getting better. And so you want to think about, how does your startup harness that and compound and get better? You don't want to be doing some old flow that you're going to get eclipsed on. And we had some labs products actually in the last year we had to stop because they were built kind of in a world where we were like, well, maybe this is as good as the models are going to get. And nope, they got better. So that would be the other thing, is like, try to position your model where you can kind of harness that kind of continual improvement. And I think that may be other advice, just to build on what you said.
Amazing. You're continually improving your own product. And like you were saying, sunsetting older products that are not working.
That's right. Yeah.
That's very hard to do. Yeah.
Very-
You're
yeah,
attached,
yeah.
you're attached to it. So
That's right. It's your baby. Yeah.
all right. Okay, guys, we'll open the floor for questions. Yeah, we have a bunch of please pass the mic around. Yeah.
Hey guys, amazing stuff that you guys are doing. So I just wanted to kind of touch upon on maybe how do you think about the next billion or maybe the next trillion users? Because these agents are kind of rapidly percolating into every part of work that you kind of do today. So as founders of building, should they think about building for humans, or should they think about building for agents? And as these get into more long-running workflows of sorts, and how do you kind of see those as differences? Because agents definitely have these areas that they kind of struggle to do yet. But at the same point of time, humans probably, as they work with more agents, they probably need more abstractions, because we kind of come across as, look, we can work across a lot of different areas. We can stitch together concepts in a very different way. So how do you kind of think about that today?
You have any thoughts on that one? Are you going?
A great question. So I
Great
think
question. Yeah.
we shouldn't be building for humans. We shouldn't be building for agents. Most likely, we should be building for humans with agents. There is certain capabilities, I think, you can assume. So, for example, like, even today, right? Like, when people, like, say, even many times our government, when it is planning some workflows, it assumes that people have access to mobile phone and internet, right? Like, it's almost a standard assumption. Similar to that, I think we should assume that, like, that's mobile, internet with maybe Gemini hopefully installed on it, and good agentic systems installed on it.
Yeah, I like that. I think it probably depends a lot on the business too, what you're trying to do. The only other thought I'd have in this general area is, I think right now is a time to definitely be building for various different types of agent outcomes if you can, even if you can just prototype and simulate. Because I think we're trying to do that a lot right now. And there's certain things that may go fully agentic. There's certain things where there will be human with agent. It's pretty clear, though, that some of the capabilities are already starting to show up. I'm like, what agents are just exceptional at? They have infinite stamina, right? It's like, do not stop until you fix this. And then as long as your cap doesn't get hit, it just keeps going. So I would almost try to internalize what are those core strengths of agents, and then incorporate that, assuming it'll be a part of some future. And then I think what's amazing about this whole field and this moment in history we're in is this stuff happened like Christmas, New Year's break. We're like 68 days into it. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's, again, advantage to a lot of you, because if you're at the frontier playing with it, you can do it very fast, and you can kind of figure out what's working and what's not before a lot of other people ever get to it.
A bit niche question. Google is into scientific AI development as well. So any thoughts on the roadmap related to that? Then physics-informed neural network and clinical tools development with the help of that.
Yeah, maybe I can say a few things. If you want to add, feel free. I'm very interested in this for a couple of reasons. I think it's right on mission with how Google tries to think about building tools that can kind of benefit humanity. a long heritage of DeepMind has been around scientific research, whether it's been things like AlphaFold and kind of the biology side of things, or even more in materials science and meteorology and other things. It's interesting. We've got hundreds of people doing this research that's breakthrough research, Nobel Prize winning research, but we haven't done a lot of products with it yet. So watch this space because I'm very interested in kind of, can we sort of productize it, but not just for our own, but also how do we create the tools that allow, again, you think about if we look back 50, 100 years from this moment, if we're anywhere in something where people talk, like Demis will talk about the Industrial Revolution, 10 times faster, 10 times more kind of magnitude. If we're anywhere near that, it's going to be about kind of the tools that a lot of entrepreneurs, I think, invent that'll solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. And so that'll be part, I think you'll see a lot more of us at Google I/O coming up in 69 days about sciences and how we're trying to think about how to make this more accessible. Because I think we've seen AlphaFold obviously take off, but there's a lot more in the science portfolio that's traditionally right now a little more research than product. So we'll try to see if we can shift some of that a little. Yeah.
Yeah. So about 18 months ago, everybody was worried that AI would plateau because we would run out of data. And that seemed not to be a real plateau. But in the biomedical space, we actually do have a very limited amount of data. So my question to you is, how jagged is the frontier, do you think, for synthetic data, for scientific data, I would say?
Prateek, do you want to talk on that?
Yeah, a little bit. So, definitely, like synthetic data is a really active area of research. There has been some good progress in past few months. I won't say still it has it has reached a breakthrough stage, but as we move along, it does feel like as models become more powerful and understand its capabilities, like they might be able to do much better job at creating this synthetic data also, and that then can sort of power next generation of models, but also as you're hinting at that in certain scenarios they can use that synthetic data that they're creating to go in a certain domain, do continual learning, and get a little bit more maybe verification from the domain, and then again generate more synthetic data and do some sort of iterative loop of improving in that domain.
Person in the end. So you this. Let's just take something from that side of the room.
Yeah, we'll balance it out. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Anirudh, and I am building a system where we are doing agentic bookkeeping and financial orchestration. And one of the problems that we've been solving for actively is something that you mentioned, right? Like, how do you create a control plane or a review plane for a lot of work that is being done behind the scenes?
Yeah.
And the part that I wanted to ask, right, was effectively, like, I'm an engineer by background, so a lot of inspiration that I'm drawing is coming from code and the tools that are available to me as a programmer. And one of the reasons why I think agentic experiences in coding has worked very well is because the availability of tools to verify the work that was being done, right? So whether it's tests, whether it's like LSP, or whether it's like, you have those loops which are very easy to build. You write something, you run test, you get your output, the agent consumes it, and it keeps going. And I'm trying to build something similar where, like, what are the verifiability options that we can create where an agent can effectively do something subjective, but then trigger something objective and look at that output and be like, okay, I've done this right or not, right? In accounting, obviously, there are certain rules that you can follow, and then you can try to program them. But I'm just trying to understand, as a general practice, if that is something that people at Google are thinking, because you guys are obviously building for a general use case, right? What are the practices, patterns that you've seen come up on that front? And is that something that you can share with us?
Yeah, that's so Anirudh, a couple of thoughts come to mind. And I was going to say, I'm glad you said accounting does have a closed loop at some point because you want the books to add up. So I guess a couple of thoughts. One, I don't think we've cracked it at all. We're experimenting a lot right now to try to figure out those different patterns and sort of control plane dashboard type views. So that's one. I don't think we have the answer. Two, I think one of the things I'm starting to see, I'd be curious if you all feel this way too. One of my predictions about all of the AI coding agents is it's going to lead to a giant bottleneck on code reviews, which we're already seeing. And some companies are trying to solve that in different ways. It's also going to lead to, I think, a lot of almost like burnout and new types of stress for us as people. Because imagine having like hundreds of things flying at you and you're having to make lots of decisions that increasingly will be for your business, for the customers you're serving, high stakes decisions, right? And so there's also almost like an emotional or a human side of this that I'm very interested in. In the lab, we're trying to figure out a little bit of how do we solve around, I mean, just think of when you all have, I don't know about you all, I have like an endless to-do list, right? And if you look at it, you're just like, oh, this is just stress inducing. And so it's like, are there ways you can kind of create ways to prioritize or do things for like business owners in your line of work? This is another thing I'm super fascinated by. We're trying to start testing on it, but it's almost a whole different emotional layer. I've always, I guess, felt like the best products make you feel something. And if you could build like accounting software that delivered peace of mind, I don't know, that feels pretty good to me. Or they could do your taxes would be really good as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good tagline. Products which deliver, make you feel something.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Sorry, we only have time for so much, but I think Josh will hang around for some time.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Yeah.